Hello, everyone, and welcome back to This Day in History, our nightly look back at a specific day in history, where we not only take a look at the events of the day, but the historical context and consequences of those events. As always, please hit the subscribe button and the bell notification icon to be alerted anytime I post new content. And please tell a friend, share the content, promote me far and wide. I like it when people watch my videos and comment. If you've commented or liked the videos or anything, thank you immensely. It means a lot. And now, let's take a look at this day in history, February the 8th. And on this day, in 1915, the racist and controversial film The Birth of a Nation is released. This is the D.W. Griffith film that is one of the most controversial films ever released. It was controversial before it was released, it was controversial after it was released, and it remains controversial to this day. It portrays the lost cause myth of the Civil War. It portrays African Americans in a very unfavorable and racist light. It promotes the ideal that the slaves after African Americans after the Civil War were unintelligent and sexually aggressive towards whites, and promotes the Ku Klux Klan in a heroic light. That is how the film portrays these events. And obviously, at the time, and as it should be, this was controversial. Although it was a highly successful film at the box office at its time during this time, it was even screened in the White House. The first film ever screened in the White House, and that was done by President Woodrow Wilson, who has a very checkered history on race. Very, very controversial president when it comes to his views on race and matters of that nature. Many historians have said that this film led to a rebirth of the Ku Klux Klan in the 20s, and was very much responsible for the rebirth of the Klan during that time. So it was a very controversial film. Also had a lot of historical consequences. This film was used as a basis by some to promote the Dunning School view of Reconstruction. Thankfully, though, the Dunning School interpretation of Reconstruction and the historical analysis that it did has fallen out of favor in the past 50 years, and very much so within the past 20 to 30 years, as we have gotten away from that point, and we have more historians and PhDs trained in the craft of really observing what really happened, and noting that Reconstruction was actually a very positive time for everyone in the South. And had it continued, the South may have actually had a lot of advantages after the Civil War. But unfortunately, the Dunning School took hold and Reconstruction was cast in a negative light, and we're still feeling those consequences today. I encourage anyone to go read new writing about Reconstruction and just see the massive gains that were being made in the South, not only by African Americans, but by poor whites as well. The South and America could have had a much different history if Reconstruction had been successful. But unfortunately, it was stopped in its tracks, and many of the gains that African Americans had made in the South uh, were stymied after the end of Reconstruction. You saw the black codes introduced, and of course, Jim Crow was introduced, and many states rewrote their constitutions with racist language and racist interpretations to disenfranchise African Americans. So, this film, and it has been preserved by the Library of Congress, as it should be, uh, has had a profound effect on American life and a hugely consequential film. And it premiered on this day in 1915. It was the first film that was a 12-reel film. It was the longest film ever released at that time. It's a silent film. It is very, very long. It's about 3 hours long. I have actually watched it before, and it is, like I said, it's a silent film, so it is a struggle to watch if you're more used to talkies, as they became known as in later time. Births that occurred on this day. In 1940, in Nelson, which is in Lancaster, which is in England in the United Kingdom, Ted Koppel was born. He was the host of Nightline on ABC from 1980 to 2005. His parents were German immigrants to the United Kingdom, and they were Germans of Jewish descent. And they obviously were fleeing Nazism, and they originally were welcomed in the United Kingdom. But his father was accused of some bogus immigration charges after that, and was even briefly imprisoned. But after the war, his parents immigrated to the United States in the 50s when Mr. Koppel was age 13, and thankfully, for our sake here in the United States, Mr. Koppel pursued a career in journalism. He was inspired by Edward R. Murrow, whose factual reporting on the bombing of London during the Blitz inspired a young Koppel to become a journalist. He became a naturalized U.S. citizen at the age of 22 in 1962. And his reporting on the Iranian hostage situation was very instrumental in the public turning against the Carter administration's response. He would host this special on Nightline after local news called Iran Crisis. Americans held hostage day, whatever, and it would be the corresponding day. And of course, those Americans were not released until the beginning of the Reagan administration on January 20th, 1981. He would retire from ABC News and step down from his hosting duties of Nightline in 2005 after 25 years as the head of that program and 42 years overall at ABC News. He continues to this day to make sporadic appearances for a number of news organizations and commentaries. I love me some Ted Koppel. Most often I see Ted today as a special correspondent on the CBS show on Sunday, CBS Sunday edition, I believe it's known as. I'm sorry, it's fading from me now. I always watch the clips on YouTube. And it's some of my favorite YouTube holes to fall down is the commentaries that Koppel has. So a great journalist and a great American born on this day in 1940. Some deaths that occurred on this day. In 2000, at the age of 33, Derick Thomas died in Miami. Thomas was a NFL player that was a very highly regarded player. He was a first-round draft pick in the 1989 draft out of the University of Alabama. He holds one record that is an NFL record. He has the most sacks in a single game. He was a numerous time Pro Bowler and all-team pro and won many awards as an NFL player. He was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame and the NFL Hall of Fame. So Derick Thomas died after he had been involved in a car crash earlier in January of 2000 that left him paralyzed, and he died of a pulmonary embolism on this day in Miami, which is was his hometown, at the age of 33. And just a tragic death, and a man that died way too soon. Derick Thomas died on this day in the year 2000. That is all for now. I will see you all again tomorrow, possibly twice tomorrow. I haven't made a definitive decision on that yet, but it is very possible you see me twice tomorrow. I haven't decided yet when I'm going to do my New Hampshire video. So I will see you all again tomorrow. Peace out, Butter Scouts.